Creative Misfits.
Hello world, this is Creative Misfits and we are doing a project review today. I am your hostess, Lyrical Relief.
And I am your host, One No.
And today the project that we are reviewing is called As Long As It Lasts, and it's by R&B artist named Devin More. He's from the Miami area, but originally from Boston. And yeah, we heard about his project from the TSA showcase and definitely, decided to check it out.
Yep, the good folks at TSA showcase was like, yo, y'all should check this project out and, see if you want to review it. So we checked it out and we wanted to review it.
Yep.
That's pretty much how it went. So I think without further ado, we could probably get
right into it.
You want to start it off?
Yeah, let's start off with the first track, Right With You. I definitely enjoyed this one. There was quite a few things that I liked about it. First of all, like the vocals in the background I thought were pretty dope. Mm-hmm. And one thing I noticed, if not all of them, I think most of them, he starts all of his songs with the hook. Like I've noticed that with all his songs. I wanted to say that before we go into, all the specifics of every song. But that's one thing I noticed, like with this entire project, that he pretty much starts off with the hook with a lot of them.
That's cool. I didn't even really notice that.
Yeah, I noticed that. And then I also enjoyed like the production. I felt like with this project, he pretty much owns his like sound, and he pretty much claimed his sound. And he also has like I guess you can really tell that he has a bit of Bryson Tiller type of influence.
Yeah, I can hear that in it.
In his music. So yeah, with this one specifically, Right With You, I enjoyed like the hook, like this shit don't feel the same, saying you need some space, just the way he comes in with that.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty dope. Some of the other lines he's pretty much talks about like, tell me it ain't simple now, tell me things ain't different now, my past is full of regrets, but I've been real ever since. And then he goes, I've been trying to find the words to say to you, doing what I can when things ain't right with you. So pretty much, I guess in this song, it's about a relationship. Yep. And I think all of them pretty much have to do with different aspects and different situations that happen in a relationship. So this one was pretty much one situation that he pretty much talks about. And what do you think about it?
Gotcha. Yeah, a lot of the stuff you talked about, like the vocal sample that it starts off with, I really like. And like you said, it is dealing with a relationship, but particularly like this one is like a relationship on the rocks is basically what he's talking about. Exactly. Like he's starting it off, and I think this is really kind of like the beginning of a story is what I feel like. It's the beginning of the story of the project mm-hmm. or of the album, mm-hmm. body of work, whatever you want to call it. I think it's the beginning of the story
because as it goes along, stages of
as it goes along, you can see that it kind of sounds like it's talking about the same situation.
Yeah.
So it starts off relationship on the rocks, and one cool thing that I noticed about it is that the beat really kind of kicks in on this after the first chorus. Second verse basically with like a bass line, like a heavy bass line mm-hmm, that kicks mm-hmm. in, and it
I really like that. It
really like kicks in the mood, I would say.
Exactly, for sure.
So it was something that kind of slowly built, like, the beginning of the song, it had beat, it had like kick drum, it had, it has drums in it, but just you don't hear the bass line until after the chorus, and it really like adds a lot of weight and moodiness, to that second verse. So it really kicks things off with that second verse. And one thing I noticed about this song is that you start to gain a sense of like his sound, like you said, that it's a very specific sound, and mm-hmm. he's kind of in tune with that, and he's very cohesive with his sound. So here you start to gain a sense of that, and you start to gain mm-hmm. a sense of like the vocal effects. That's one thing that mm-hmm. I really noticed about this artist is that his engineering is on point, and his vocal production always sounds like cool and crisp, and it always has like cool effects.
For sure.
So you can definitely start to hear the effects in mm-hmm. This first song. And just throughout the song, like I said, it is a relationship on the rocks. So he's just kind of talking about that whole dynamic. Some of the lyrics that you pointed out, kind of point to that. And I think one thing that I picked up about this song, you know, from the lyric standpoint, is that you can tell that he's trying to like make it work with this person.
Exactly.
Like throughout the song, you can tell that although things are going, you know, not well,
He's not trying to just give up like super quick. He's
you
still,
can tell that he's trying to put some effort into
exactly.
it. And
Yeah.
one of the other lines I picked out, you know, kind of talking about the state of mind of the other person, is where he says, this thing don't feel the same, saying you need some space. No, you've been down for days. So that kind of, to me, you know, says that the person, you know, is like one of those people who's like caught up in negativity, or that person might be like down, like depressed, you know what I mean? And he's trying to make things work because he knows like that person is going through a tough time. So just some of those things are kind of some of the details that make me feel like, you know, it sounds like he's trying, even though things are going
It doesn't look good.
really bad
Yeah.
right now. Things are going really tough. You know what I mean?
For sure.
What song would you like to get into next?
Go ahead, you can pick one.
Okay. Well, I guess we could go ahead with the second song, You.
All right.
This one is like real, like short and sweet. Some of the lyrics from this one that I kind of took from it is where he says, all those things you said just ain't true. Keep it coming, I understand you. Doing the most, this ain't the same you. So pretty much, you know, with that first line that I picked out, you can already tell that it's along similar lines as far as like the state of the relationship. Like the state of the relationship is still like turbulent, you know what I mean? He's still trying to deal with this person, and it's kind of like stressing him out. Like in another line I picked out that picks up pretty much at the beginning of the song is where he says, I've been up for 2 days now, things you do make me blaze now. So that's like, you know, a testament to how this situation is like stressing him out. It's like, man, you just make me want to like blaze and like kind of mellow myself out a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't want to get into too much before like letting you get into some stuff. So what do you have for this one?
With this one,
I might circle back around.
Some of the lines that I really liked, there was one that he says, you the one that ain't stay around, you the one that I can't tame now, you the one that playing games now, you the one that's losing faith now.
Yeah.
So like you said, he's continuing on with this, pretty much talking about how stressed out he is. Like, she's the one that changed, and you know, he's trying to figure out what the hell's going on with her or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's at the point where he doesn't really know what to do. And aside from the content, I enjoyed how he switches like between the flows and the melodies.
Yeah, like that part was a very good like flow rhythmically.
Exactly.
You know, the lines that you were just saying, like right there, he's really like flowing.
Yeah.
On that particular piece.
Yeah, so I enjoyed that for sure. And then he just pretty much goes on with the hook that you just want somebody to complain to. So,
Got you.
Yeah, thought it was super dope.
I got you. I wanted to talk about just the vibe of the instrumental, and this instrumental, you know, is similar to a lot of the other ones. Again, we're going back to the cohesive sound.
Exactly.
So this one is like a dark, trappy instrumental. The piano is very like verby, like you hear like a lot of the reflections in the piano. Like you barely hear the piano. It's like you're hearing all room when you hear the piano. And this is kind of like his soundscape, you know, throughout most of the project. It's a lot of like dark, trappy type of stuff. And pretty much one other, I guess, and this goes back to flow, this line that I picked out, or these couple of lines that I picked out, is when he says, you changed on me quick. What can I say? You act like we ain't click.
Yeah.
What can I say?
I love the words and the way he flowed with that
what
shit.
can I say? Like that part is super catchy, and it again, exactly like you said, goes back to flow. You know, super catchy, like just well executed all around. Like he really killed that part. That part is almost like a second hook, pretty much. You know what I mean? Just how catchy it is.
For sure.
And before we wrap it up, just content-wise, it seems like, you know, I think going back to the first song and then coming to this song, it kind of seems like the situation is kind of like out of his control to an extent. He's just trying to like gain control of it, trying to get things straightened out. So I think the first song and the song really kind of reflect that point of view, like, oh man, like this is going crazy, like I don't know what to
trying,
do, but I'm, you know, just trying to deal with this person, and it's just like rocky, super rocky. What song do you want to get into next?
Let's see. Let's do Soul.
Okay.
Number 4.
Heard that.
This is another one that starts off with the hook, and back to like his sound. Like we said, he has a cohesive sound. With this beat, I feel like it was simple. It was a really good beat, but it was simple enough to allow him to keep on changing up his melody, add different background vocals to the song. So I truly enjoyed that. And some of the lines that were really catchy for me were lately you've been in my soul, all the things I never told, keep it on the low. But the way he sings that part is, you know, super dope. I really like that.
Yeah.
And another thing he was saying, doing what it takes to erase you. And then he goes on to say, you just needed somebody to chase you. So he's pretty much,
I picked out that
pouring
line too.
out. He's pretty much telling this person too, like, you know, there's been, like, you're still in my soul, you're still on my mind pretty much, but I'm trying to, at this point, I need to do what I got to do to kind of let you go, let this whole thing go, because it's pretty much not going anywhere. So I think right here is where he's pretty much starting to say that he's trying to, you know, cut it off and do his own thing, kind of get over it.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's one of the things I noted too, that it does sound like he's at the song is where it sounds like he's getting to that point where, you know, more so to me, it's like I think it's a little bit further down the line, like to where he's like, that's his ex, and, you know, she's basically still on his mind to an extent, but he's getting closer to like getting over his ex at this point.
Yeah.
And, you know, even though it still lingers a little bit, is kind of where I feel like we're at in the story at this point. Like you said, this instrumental does leave him a lot of room to do this thing. It leaves him a lot of room for his vocals to be on top.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it has like basically the main like lead line melody-wise within the music is just like pads. So it's very like cloudy sounding synthesis essentially. And that's what like leaves him room. Like the instrumental is like super cloudy, so it leaves him room to just sound on top and very crisp with the vocals.
Exactly.
Again, going back to the vocal production, like his vocals are always crisp. So when you have a cloudy beat, then it just allows him to get a lot more like over top of it, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I caught that too. And then a couple of the lines that I picked out are that when he said, "No, it breaks your heart. I don't really need you." And then fall in place, you out of line is what he's saying like towards the end. And he kind of like repeats that line back to back. Fall in place, you out of line. So basically that to me is, you know, him saying, you know, even though she's still lingering on his mind, like he's telling her to like, you know, mentally he's trying to get her out of that space, get her off his mind. So that's why he's saying like, that's why he keeps saying fall in place, you out of line. Like, nah, you're not supposed to be here no more.
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to move on, so I need you to fall in place. I need you to get out of my, you know, out of my thoughts, basically. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to really get to that point where I'm over this thing. And I think that's why he repeats the line back to back to back.
Yeah,
he's really like
he's
telling
really
himself like
emphasizing on that. Yeah. For sure.
All right, so what do you want to get into next? You want me to see what I want to get into?
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. I want to go to Maddie's interlude.
Okay.
So with Maddie's interlude, the song basically starts off with Maddie saying she wants the relationship back. Now, I don't know if Maddie is like the name of the actual singer or if Maddie is the name of the girl, you know, in the relationship that the singer is portraying.
Yeah.
But she starts off the song saying that she wants the relationship back. So a line that kind of points to that is where she says, "I'm trying to be okay. I wish that you could say the same." You know what I mean? So that's just her, like, you know, just going in about how she wants the relationship back. And, you know, then Devin kind of comes in, and he comes in with like the Drake, like, right at the beginning of the verse. He comes in with the Drake, And I think you know, I say that because definitely that sounds like exactly how Drake would start off a verse. And then not only that, but you know how you said he has like some Tiller influence that you could tell. I could tell that there's Drake influence within this body of work as well. There's a lot of instrumentals that sound very like Drake-esque. And then, you know, just a lot of stuff he's singing about, you know, relationships and heartbreak, and just the way he approaches his material. You can tell that there's some Drake influence as well. And that's not to say that like Devin isn't doing his thing, or, you know, that he sounds exactly like Drake. He sounds exactly like Bryson Tiller. No,
but you could tell.
But you can tell where his influences are coming from and mixing together and molding together. So he came in with the yeah, and he's basically saying that, you know, he's good without her when he comes into the verse. That's the first thing he says. But not only that, like at first he says he's good without her, and then not long after he says that he's been going on to date girls that look just like her.
Yeah, I wrote that.
You know what I mean? So
too.
This again just goes back to that turmoil and like trying to get over it, but you can't really get over it type of thing, you know. So in his mind, he's like good on her, but he's like, you know what? I have been dating girls that look just like you, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So again, before I get too much into everything, you know, I'll leave some room for you to.
Yeah, well, I pretty much have almost the same stuff written down, like with the female vocals. The part that I had written down is when she's saying, I want it all back. How did it get this way? Never thought you'd be the one to make me gray. So yeah, like you said, she's, you know, her point of view, she's like, I want to work this out. I want it all back. But he's already to the point where he's like, nah, I'm good. And like you said, he is dating. He realizes that, yeah, he is dating all these girls that look like her, but he's still trying. There was another part where he says, trying to find a way to still love when no one loves me, I believe is what he said.
Actually, I think I wrote that one down too. Well, and to me, it sounds like he says, trying to find a way to still love you and know what love means. So it's like, you know, again, pointing back to that, just back and forth. Like he's like, I'm good on you, but I'm not good on you, but I am good on you, but I don't know if I can love another.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just that tug and pull, like, you know, of trying as hard as you can to like get over something, but you know.
It's so relatable because this is what people go through when, you know, they end up ending a relationship. It's ugly and messy, you know, and it's not something you get over in a day or two, you know, it takes time. So throughout this entire project, he's taken us through that journey. Through
that up and down, back and forth, and, you know, still being in contact with the person. And, you know, it's like pretty much, you know, how you can be trying to get over that person, but, you know, that person calls you and then it's like you're pulled right back in briefly or whatever the case may be. So just that whole dynamic, he's really like nailing throughout this project. He's really just like telling that story, and it takes you there because, like you said, a lot of people can relate to it. Like a lot of people have been through it. You know, this is something that's common.
I really enjoyed the way he ended the interlude. Like I thought it was super different. It was unexpected. Like the vocals were a little bit distorted on top of the beat.
Yeah, that to me sounds like it reminds me of 808s and Heartbreak. So I think that would be.
I think there's a lot in here that reminds me of 808s and Heartbreak.
There's some Kanye influence, you know, coming in there too. Specifically on I'm trying to think what song he did that on.
There's another one
where
Larry.
Let's have a toast to the assholes. Like, let's have a toast to the scumbags. Like that was where Kanye had like that sort of outro where the voice is almost like an instrument at that point.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
So I like that outro as well.
Yeah, so I enjoyed that for sure.
And then when it goes to this musically, the song, I think this instrumental is very like So Far Gone. It sounds like some So Far Gone, like Drake type of soundscape. So again, you know, we're talking about Drake here, we're talking about Kanye here, and just once again hearing those influences come in and mold together, and it all ends up as a very cool mix, you know what I mean? And then obviously Devin adds his whole personality and all his layers to it. So it's a really cool mix of things that are going on.
For sure.
What song would you like to get into next?
Let's see. We can do Truth.
Tell the truth?
Tell the truth, yeah.
Okay, go ahead and get into it.
Let's see. With Tell the Truth, I pulled a couple of lines from that one too. Like he starts off pretty much saying, I told the truth and you don't deserve that.
Yeah.
So I enjoy that because now he's pretty much, at this point where he's telling her, like, I was honest, I was being straightforward, and now he just feels like, you know what, you didn't even deserve that. And then he tells her, just tell the truth, that's why you gave up. I did some things that I regret. Just tell the truth. I know you know that. So I guess here he's pretty much I think he's unveiling a little bit more in the story, talking about I guess he has some things too that he probably did wrong, and he knows that or whatever, but he was still trying to work through that, and I guess it just it was just at a point where things were just a bit too messy, and so he's just trying to tell her, like, keep it real, like, tell the truth. I know the reason why we fell off, the reason why we couldn't work things out is because of this and this and that. So pretty much keep it real. So there was that. And then let's see, there was another thing that he said. I really want to show that. Let the silence take its place now because I've been trying to find a way out. I really like that line right there.
Yeah.
And all you ever did was hold back. I know there had to be a reason you've been keeping all these secrets. So I don't know. I enjoyed the whole thing. I feel like here he was just confessing and just
really like venting about the whole thing.
Exactly.
I got you. Definitely, I could hear a lot of that within the song as well. To me, I feel like this song also kind of tackles, just relationships in general. Like, I feel like he might not even be talking specifically to the girl like the whole time. I'm sure there's a lot of that in there, and I do hear that as well. But I feel like he's just talking about relationships in general at this point in his life. One thing that I noticed about this musically is that the song before it was called Venice Beach, I want to say. Yeah, Venice Beach, and that was one that kind of like lightened up the mood, and that's one where he's kind of just trying to get at the Venice Beach girl, and it just has this very summery mood, like you can hear the Venice Beach within the song basically, and it's kind of like a picker-upper within the scope of the project.
That is true.
So Tell the Truth pretty much picks back up with the dark, trappy soundscapes, I want to say, and like you said, he's like seriously like venting in this song, so it does get heavy, not only back to heavy music-wise, but heavy content-wise. And one of the lines that I picked out of this is where he said, or the couplet anyway, is that he said, the fate can't look me in my eyes now. Keep it calm, I'm about that. So I like that, because it's like pretty much here is an example of where I'm saying, it feels like he's not only talking about the girl, like, he addresses the fakes. So he's not, so he's talking about plural. And,
That's
pretty
true.
much he's saying, chill out with that, because I'm about that. So don't even like come to me with these, don't even come to me with these problems. Don't even come at me sideways because, I handle it. And then I think overall, it just feels like he talks about, again, losing control and just being distant from not only the female, but from people as a whole. When you go through things, you kind of get to that point where you're pulling away and you're having a hard time trusting people. So it seems like this is what he's talking about in it. A couple of the other like main themes, like you said, he was talking about, truth and lies, and he was talking about like regrets and just failed relationships as a whole. I feel like, so
a whole lot of that.
So pretty much a whole lot of that, again, feeling like it's talking about a lot about the female, but also I think he's covering other people in this one as well.
I can see that.
So I definitely want to do the next two, like for sure, before we close it out. So if you want to, you can start with Kick It To.
Kick it to, you the one I want to kick it to. This one, let's see, what did I write for this one? So yeah, I like, again, like I said, he starts off with the hook, you're the one I want to kick it to, maybe spend another day or two.
Gotcha.
Some of the lines that really stuck out to me, I like when he goes, I don't really got the time for you every time I'm in the city. Yeah, you know that. Feeling bad you ain't with me. and you know that, what I do to see everything that you hold back.
Yeah.
So that part was interesting to me. But there was another part where he goes, I ain't got the time that you do, like when she's shopping in the city every time. But the way he says it too, like that flow.
Yeah, I ain't got the time that you do. Mm-hmm. And then not only that, shopping in the city every time. But like, not only that, I really like, again, the vocal production. Because, you know, I guess this is a combination between vocal production and flow, because I ain't got the time that you do, but he pauses in between the lines. And when he does pause in between the lines, it has that little like vocal part, again, going back to the vocal sounding almost like an instrument and just having these really cool effects on it.
I love how he does that with these songs,
So once he pauses, you know, it has that little vocal part that's not even saying any words. I think he's just saying like, ooh, you know what I mean, on that part. So that's just another one of those things where like, the vocal is being used as an instrument, and he's basically just doing melodic runs with a lot of cool effects in between. That's what I love about his production and pretty much in the entire project. It gives him that room to not only, you know, show off his melodies and his flows, but show off, you know, what else he can do, you know, with his vocals. So I thought it was pretty interesting. Yeah, just a lot of the cool, you know, effects-driven things that kind of spice things up and just really kind of add a very unique element to the sound.
For sure. What do you got for that one?
For this one?
What do you think about the content for that one?
I'll definitely get into the content. I'll get into that first, and then I'll start to talk about a few of the other things I like about it. But before I even get into anything, I do want to say that this is one of my favorite songs on the project as a whole. Like, for sure. This is a big fave of mine.
Okay.
So, content-wise, pretty much what he's talking about is that, you know, kick it to, like, the title already kind of gives you an idea of where he's going with it. He's pretty much talking to the girl that, you know, and even in the chorus he says, you the one I want to kick it to. So he's talking to the girl that he wants to kick it to, that he's feeling. And pretty much like you said, there's the time angle where he's saying that he's, you know, very busy and that, you know, she's out there shopping or whatever, doing her thing. I agree with you in terms of what he's talking about. You know, he's talking about he doesn't really have time, but at the same time, he does want to kick it to the girl. So in this song, you know, it's a lot more lighthearted.
For sure.
Because he's trying to get at, like, there's newness within it. He's trying to get into a new situation. So with that comes that excitement. With that comes that giddiness almost. So that's why this song sounds a lot more bubbly. This is one of the more bubbly songs. This is one of the more lighter songs. This is one of the more light songs on it. And when he's talking about, you know, when he's addressing this content, basically, when he's addressing this female, he's still there's a little bit of tug and pull in it, even though it is in that lighter mood, because he's saying, you know, the whole time angle, but at the same time he's saying how he does want to kick it to the girl, and he does want to spend extra time with her, and, you know, spend some time getting throwed up, and they finna go up. So there's still like that tug and pull of like, damn, I don't really have time, but I do want to spend time with you because I'm feeling you like that. So he's basically just like letting the girl know that, you know, she is important to him, even though he finds it to be hard to like put aside that extra focus to focus solely on like building with her, whatever the case may be. And then to me, this is one of the catchiest songs by far, for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
And again, it goes back to, you know, some of the stuff we were talking about, just great vocal production overall. And the last thing I wanted to get into on it is that the song reminds me of Hotline Bling. Bling in a lot of ways.
I can see that.
The music, like the sound bed, it really sounds like it's reminiscent of Hotline Bling, for sure. You know, it has that same type of bubbly, you know, cool type of sound going on. And not only that, but even rhythmically, like with the way he flows at times, it kind of has a little bit of Hotline Bling in it to me. So again, it's going back to, you know, you're hearing some influence in there. So it's kind of like it's cool because I mean you hear all these influences and it's like you're hearing something familiar, but you're also hearing something new at the same time because Devin is his own person.
Exactly.
He has his own experiences that he's discussing. So
Yep.
that's really one of the cool things about this project as a whole. So last but not least, on and off.
All right. So this one is pretty much like the end of that whole scenario, pretty much the end of the story. He talks about the relationship going on and off, going back and forth, and we're on, we're off, that whole type of thing. So with this one, some of the lines that I pulled, let's see. He starts it off with, it's been about some other things too. Then now you said that I changed you. I could show you a change if you want that. It won't be the same if you come back.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that part. It was pretty much telling her right then and there, like, no, it's not going to be the same pretty much when you come back. Like,
Yeah.
This time it's going to be different, on and off, broken and lost. I like that part too, how he said that as well.
Yeah, I like that line a lot too. And not only that, but the line after, my baby girl, fight till I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really cool line because, I guess he's really like going into detail about, how the hard times went, how the arguments went at times, like my baby girl, fight till I'm wrong. Like, even if, I don't feel like I'm wrong or I know I'm not wrong, like you will pretty much spin it so much that I kind of feel like I'm wrong at the end of the day. Fight till I'm wrong. Like you're forcing me to be wrong, basically.
Yep. So yeah, he pretty much paints the picture of how it all went down, and this is pretty much it. Because another part that I like is where he says, "We couldn't find love where we lost it. I drew the line and then you crossed it.
Yep.
You knew your actions would bring conflict. You knew the shit was never promised." Like that whole thing was dope. It was like pretty much like a finale. Like this is where it's at. It's done. Like you crossed the line. It's it's over with. So I just really enjoyed how he pretty much ended this storyline with this song.
Yeah, I wrote down like that whole section as well, and a reason that I did that is because that first verse is like my favorite verse on the whole project for sure.
I love that verse too, for sure.
Like lyrically it's very dope, just like you said. But I think I'm just gonna go back and rewind and flow it out a little bit once again, because like not only is it dope lyrically, but just the way he flowed it once again.
For sure.
He kind of says, you knew we couldn't find it where we lost it. You knew I drew the line and then you crossed it. You knew your actions would bring conflict. You knew this thing was never promised. So like just the way he flowed that shit, killed it. Again, it goes back to flow. And then after that, he kind of switches up the flow with the line right after that. And he says, I ain't saying that I'm right, but I'm not the problem. So just flow. Like, this is one of the reasons that it's my favorite verse, and this favorite verse adds to another one of my favorite tracks, essentially. Like, I love the last two songs.
Yeah.
And I agree with what you were saying content-wise. This definitely is like the end of the story. So it's a proper closer. I think it's one of the easiest songs to actually like feel and connect to and like really get into it. Not to say that you can't feel the whole project, because obviously we wouldn't be talking about it if we don't enjoy the project. You know what I mean? Like you can feel every song, but I feel like this is the one where between the music and just the way he's killing the lyrics and the way he's killing the flow, like that shit really like takes you there, and you kind of feel as pissed off as he does.
For sure.
But I'm trying to see if there's anything else I wanted to kind of mention about it. Okay, so, and before, is there anything else that you had for it?
Go ahead.
Okay, so to get into the outro, I thought the outro was very interesting because to me, it has a very Weekend, House of Balloons style type of outro. Like it sounds like something off of House of Balloons from The Weeknd, musically. And even with some of the vocals, like it has really haunting vocals. Like it sounds,
I did like that. Yeah,
it sounds like super Weeknd. So here's the last I guess, influence that you can really hear on the project. You know, so it ends with like kind of like a nod to one of his influences, you know what I mean? So again, it just goes back to how it's cool. Devin could do his own thing, but you can also hear
still bring
an
in
influence on this song, an influence on that song, a couple influences on this song, and it just adds to the whole dynamic, just his whole style, and the sound of the project as a whole.
I agree.
So musically it has that, and then pretty much where he ends it at is he's speaking on the tragedy of the failed relationship, but then he's also saying that, okay, maybe this is the way it had to go, you know what I mean? Like, as much as we didn't want to let it go, maybe we had to, like, it just was never going to work. So he feels like, you know, it had to be that way. And now where he ends it is where it's time for him to, like, truly find closure and be like, that's it. It's dead. It's over. I'm off it. No more back and forth.
Exactly.
Don't call me. I'm not gonna call you.
Exactly. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, this is where he was like, I'm done. He drew the line, like, for real, I'm done.
So on that last verse is where he really kind of drives that point home.
Exactly.
Yep.
Sure.
But so overall thoughts about the project before we close this thing out real quick?
Yeah, I think he did an amazing job. It was my first time, you know, listening to a project from Devin More, and I definitely want to go back and listen, because I know I did see he has an EP that he released last year.
Gotcha.
Like the end of last year. So definitely gonna check that one out. And
yeah, I saw you had more material out there.
Yeah, for sure. I really enjoyed his music, and looking forward to hearing more. For sure.
Absolutely, I agree. It's definitely a very dope project. Very interesting in all aspects, from, you know, just lyrics to vocals to production. You know, the few guest spots that he had on there really did their thing, and it is a really solid project.
For sure.
So Devin More, as long as it lasts. And I guess one last thing I want to say is, like, that title kind of, I feel like that really does explain the theme of the project. You know, as long as it lasts, like, just kind of talking about the longevity of, like, this breakup, essentially. Like, it wasn't just this.
It wasn't just I'm
it's
one
over,
done.
bye.
That's it. It's a wrap.
It wasn't just it's over, bye. So
No.
I think that's where the title ties back in. Like, as long as it lasts, like, you know, is pretty much the storyline of the project as a whole. Like, this is a long ass breakup. You know, it wasn't an easy one. It's something that, you know, he had to struggle through.
For sure.
So, dope title, you know, that kind of points back to just the whole concept when you really listen to the whole project and you get where the title came from.
Exactly.
So, really, really dope, really good, you know, execution throughout the whole project, and I agree. I am looking forward to hearing more from Devin. So yeah, with that, I think we can wrap it up. So shout out to you guys for tuning in, you know, listening, watching,
Thanks again.
whatever it is that you're doing. We definitely want to shout out Devin More. We definitely want to shout out TSA Showcase for giving us the, you know, the suggestion.
Yeah.
And we definitely want to shout out Hip Hop
Everything.
Hip Hop Everything, as always, for always holding it down. And once again, you know, next time we do air on Hip Hop Everything Radio, we will let you guys know. So without further ado, Devin More, as long as it lasts, Creative Misfits Project Review. We'll catch you guys next time, all right?
We out.
Later.
Creative Misfits.